Hey everybody, Joe and Ashley Kovacs here for the THROvacs Podcast. It's where the Kovacs family and our passion for throwing collide. Ashley, I'll let you take it away with any updates and where we're going to go with this podcast.
All right, so we told you guys last time we talked that we were off to Oregon for the Prefontaine Classic, and we just got back. Today's Monday. We just got back yesterday. We told you guys in the last podcast that we had that we were thinking that this meet was going to kind of get the season jump-started just from being a little bit banged up and not really having a lot of practices underneath your belt at the level that we wanted because of some restrictions we had based on some physical things going on. So do you want to kind of summarize how you feel like the meet went?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously happy how the meet went. I'm sure most of the listeners know that it went pretty well. I threw 22.48, season best, 3 throws over 22. Overall was a really good meet, but I think what I'm going to come away with the most from the meet is like that was, as a meet that I've been to as a professional athlete in 13 years, that was probably one of the coolest and the best run professional meets I've ever been to. So obviously it was the 50th anniversary for the Prefontaine Classic. They had a bunch of events there. They had men and women's throws in every one of the throws category except javelin. So starting off the day, even before we got there, Rudy Winkler throwing an American record. The girls threw far, the chase threw really far. All the girls and the women shot through far. You know, it just kind of, as an athlete going in that situation, when the juice is already flowing before you get there, I think it puts that little anticipatory excitement inside you. So, I mean, I'll let you talk about the details of the going into it, but I think looking back, that was a really fun meet. It was a really cool experience.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention for some of the listeners that might not be familiar with like the exact structure of the Diamond League meets. So Prefontaine is a Diamond League meet. So some of these meets that Joe's gone to, the meet he was at in Rome, the meet he was at in Rabat, those are Diamond League meets. And so at a Diamond League meet, not every discipline is represented, meaning most of the time men's shot is with women's disc. Is women's jab with you guys, or is it just women's disc?
It used to be like you could almost know exactly how it is. It hasn't been like that perfectly anymore, but
most of the time the men's shots with the women's disc. So basically, like saying that to say the Diamond League meets do not have the hammer. Okay, and so if the hammer is at a Diamond League meet, it's not a Diamond League event, meaning they can be there, but it's not considered a Diamond League sponsored event. So at Prefontaine, which was a Diamond League meet, the women's discus was a Diamond League. The men's shot was a Diamond League. And then the men's discus was not. The women's hammer and the men's shot were not Diamond League.
The men's shot was a Diamond League.
I meant the men's hammer was not a Diamond League meet.
Correct.
Right? Okay, so it was cool for us. And
it was
like
still
Joe
an A-level meet, which is the next category underneath it,
right,
in terms of points. But
yeah, so it's still a great meet. It's still a really highly regarded meet. The best people in the world are there, even if it's not a Diamond League sanctioned meet. But what we're saying with that is it's not common for us to go to these meets before a championship where everybody's there pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I think that it was fun, even like the lead up to the meet, just going, like, I mean, a lot of people probably don't understand how this works. Like you go to these meets, these Diamond League meets, and they bring you in and everybody's kind of staying at the meet hotel, and everyone eats in the same dining hall, and you see people, and it's fun to catch up. So I think that, we felt like there were good vibes even before the meet started, just because we saw a lot of people that we don't normally see. So that was fun. We felt, we were excited to see a bunch of people, people we hadn't seen yet this year. And just, it was nice. And so obviously, like, Rudy started off the day with a bang. Like, watching him break the American record was amazing. And we were really happy for him. I mean, we've known Rudy forever. We've been on teams with Rudy since 2016, or
he was one of your original bred mentors as well.
He is my only bred mentor.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a yeah. So Rudy, we're obviously close with Rudy, but there's just like, I'll tell you, as a professional athlete and people in the circuit, you always like when people do well because what the work that's into it, but then you have some connections with some people, like when it pays off for them, like you truly feel it for them. Like, Rudy throwing an American record, putting it all out there. I know what he does in his off season and what he puts into it. So like when you see that happen, like you just have a connection especially when you've been with somebody on so many teams, so many years, I think people feel it when I do well because I'm an old dog and the old dogs root for me. And, somebody for Rudy starting the day was really good, but I mean, I don't want to cut you off with this, but that was not the first competition of the weekend.
We can get back to that. I think that the Rudy thing, just, to like add on to that a little bit. Yes, bread mentor. So what Joe's saying by that, when I started making sourdough, Rudy was like on call for me 24/7, like text by text. This is what it looks like now. This is what it looks like, whatever. So we've been friends even well before that. But, like I watched Rudy throw at Rutgers, and so and so for me, it's been really cool because a lot of these people I've seen, competing, like Chuck. Chuck competed against JC, in the Big Ten. I've seen Chuck for a really long time, and watching him go from a 20-meter guy to a 21-meter guy and finally becoming a 22-meter guy. I think that we've gotten to the point now with this where we're I think a lot of people are looking around and they're realizing like this might be the last quad for a lot of people. A lot of the people that you've known and been on teams with since your first few teams. And I think that because of that, people are starting to kind of like appreciate these milestone moments a little bit more than maybe they would in the past. And I also think it's definitely a lot easier in a different event to look across the table and just be like genuinely happy for somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like when Rudy had that throw and he emoted the way that he did, and he doesn't do that all the time, right? Like some people are always screaming their faces off and Rudy doesn't unless it's going well. And, like I think he said, I hadn't PR'd in 3 years. That's tough. And like we've had a lot of like real conversation with Rudy just about like, how does this work with real life? He just got married and he's trying to figure it out. And, it paid off for him. Like he proved to himself that he's doing the right thing and he's on the right path and he's been with his coach for all that time. And I know he's got a good training group now over at Maryland. And so it was cool. Like we've seen Rudy do really well a lot. And then we've seen some moments that, he probably wish would have been better. So it was really fun to see him have that milestone moment at a big meet in front of everybody to start things off. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, like you said, at a big meet, the hammer throwers obviously are at the lowest end of the totem pole. Honestly, they're not actually even on the totem pole most of the year because they're not in the Diamond League. So like to actually have them at a meet like this where as you're walking the stadium, there's people on that ramp and they're watching and the weather is nice because all these factors could easily change the day and the circumstance.
Right.
And for him to be able to capitalize on that. And
he put on a show. I think part of that too. I mean, there are a lot of factors with the hammer, right? Like the biggest factor in my opinion is they don't want them tearing the field up. Okay. Sure. We're not going to tear up the soccer field in Europe. I think the hammer throwers sometimes feel like it's like a personal attack. And I really feel like it's just a tactical thing. Like you guys are going to tear the field up. And we don't really want to deal with that.
They don't want the shot put back in London, the Diamond League anymore because it's the West Ham Stadium. Yeah, and I really do think that's part of it. But I also think this was cool because it was something that like he put on a show, he performed. He did.
And people enjoyed that performance. And so for me, it validates the event a little bit. Like, look what happened here.
And also, obviously Ethan threw to 81 meters too, got second. Like it was a great comp. So it's really cool when you throw well and everybody throws well because it's just like, it's one that everybody's excited about, not just one person went off. Yeah, so that was awesome. Obviously, women's disc was crazy. I love watching the women's events. I saw Val open up huge and then, continued to just assert her dominance throughout the competition. But I was, really tickled by the newbie, the rookie, Sierra coming out. I met her for the first time at the meet here and I think she had a bunch of fouls and like just popped out. And what isn't there something about?
I think she might have had. I'm not positive. I don't want to misspeak, but I think she had 3 fouls, and I don't know that she realized that she still got to throw something like this. I'm not positive of all the details, but then she just threw 67 meters, and I actually think it was 67 high.
Yeah,
actually,
that's what I heard. She took her shoes off, put them back on, and then drops a bomb.
That's pretty impressive. I was already crazy impressed with what she did at NCAAs. Because the women's disc in the NCAA right now is hot anyways. Yeah. And she'd been around for a while. Like I remember her name from when I was coaching in college. So I was really impressed by that. I thought that was great. Overall, like enjoyed seeing Sandra throw season's best. Like she's trending in the right direction. And obviously, like you said, kind of one of the people you've been around for a long time. We've spent time with her and her husband, Edis, and consider them good friends. We visited them and dined with them in Croatia, so love seeing them and always am happy to see her doing well. So that was cool. Women's disc was great. But that women's shot, I like to watch that women's shot. And I was watching the results a little bit before you guys started warming up, and I was just like, they're all throwing 20. Like, they're all throwing 20 like it's happening. But like, I think for a minute, Chase was, I don't know what place she was in, but she wasn't, I think there was a moment where she wasn't leading and then she took over. I mean, and I'm very impressed with that. I think that her taking control of that meet was very impressive, especially because a lot of people were rising to the occasion. So that was cool for me to see. Obviously, I love seeing Jada Ross do well.
Yeah.
I really like her and spent some time with her last year at the Olympics, but I like the way she throws. She's super sweet. And I think it's just awesome to watch her throw well at Oregon. Like, you can't not love that,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's cool for like as a shot putter to watch the women. I think this is a level that we all knew was possible for a while, and then sometimes you said that and people got mad at you. But I never took it that way. I thought it is possible. I think there's more to come. But to be able to see 5 girls go over 20 meters,
I mean, that's huge, especially since the stat was like since 1988, and we all know things were probably a little different for these women in the 80s than it is now. And it's the other thing that I think is amazing about this is they're all rotating now, and I think that we all kind of knew the writing was on the wall with this thing when the women started to learn to rotate, and now the women are starting to rotate fast, right? Like, now they're moving. And I think, in my opinion, I think that Chase's technical evolution in the last 5 years is significant. I think that her alignment really changed in the last few years, and I think that's when she started being a lot more consistent, when her alignment got consistently good, especially out of the back of the ring. But the way she's moving now, she's moving now. She's hauling now.
I was gonna say, you and I call them body throws. There's a point when it's propelled off your body. It's not a throw. It's a delivery. And like you said with Chase, what I've seen, and obviously similar to what you're saying, is when her alignment seemed to be more on and she was able to replicate it, I saw her confidence just shoot up.
And the thing
she
is,
just started to bring so much more into it.
I don't see her off alignment.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely. I can think in my head one time for positive she was off alignment in the last few years. And but she's very, very consistently doing things well. And like you said, because of that, the rhythm has just kept getting better and better. The velocity has increasing, power output increasing. I mean, and it's just crazy because you even see in a Sarah Mitten, completely different technical model than Chase, throwing 20 meters pretty regularly. It's very impressive. And all those girls to me look very different doing it. I think that's another thing about it that I love is just, you think about those 5 girls that threw over 20. And in my opinion, they all look extremely different. And it just goes to show you, it's not a one-size-fits-all model. It's not for the men and it's not for the women, but I think that we're starting to really see, it's really a rising tide right now. I think that they're all pushing each other up, and I think that I would be shocked if we don't see a 21-meter throw this year from a woman. Obviously, Chase is so close. I mean, it's insane, but I think by the next quad, we'll have 70-footers. I genuinely think that, which is huge. And I think in the next 10 years that the women will be throwing 22 meters. I really do think that.
No, I agree that, because I think, I think there is the technical thing of obviously the spin and people getting comfortable with teaching it, learning it, coaching it, and doing it. But I also think now the bodies are following, and then all the bodies and the strength, and then the rhythms next. And there's just a development. I think you see a girl like Sarah Mitten who's not that big, not that, you're like, wow, she's whipping the ball out there, over 20 meters consistently. And then you see Chase just constantly just putting on a performance and rising to the occasion, even when things aren't going her way. I think that really speaks to, this old school mentality of the spin's inconsistent. It's just well, what are you talking about now? That's been so disproven now that It's just now we're past the point of disproving. Now we're at the point of really excelling. So when you're,
and I think it's becoming exploratory, and the men are a good example of that. I think you look at some of the different things that the men are trying to do with, the drop step and the more length, and everybody talks about Fabry start, but Tom was doing that a long time ago. And even John Smith talks about some tornado twister thing in the 80s that people were doing.
Yeah, I've seen everybody start.
Yeah, I mean, it really isn't the first time somebody's done that, but I think it's just more people are trying it now and it's working out pretty well.
Well, honestly, more people are trying it because you're allowed to foul in the back of the ring now. I mean, I don't want to bring this whole thing up, but I just talked to Tom about the whole thing. You used to get called all the time in the back. So I think there's this why not gamble now? Because it's not a gamble. So, I mean, like, some of it, I think, is the times are different, for sure.
I mean, there are differences. I mean, like, the reality of it is, in, like, an old guy, like, you know, even, like, a Christian Cantwell or Reese Hoffa, like, you weren't allowed to tape your hand like a
Oh,
cast.
100%.
I mean, you weren't allowed to tape. I mean, even when I was in college, you had to show your hands.
Well,
Like-
there's no doubt Christian Cantwell, I think would he have thrown farther if he had today's rules? Absolutely. Do I think he would have had a longer career? For sure. I would bet anything on
So
that.
just, like, explain what you're saying here.
Well, I mean,
in terms of, like, what are you allowed to do now that you weren't allowed to do in the beginning of your
so
career?
before, I guess,
And are these rules, or are these just, like, unspoken rules?
no, these are rules.
These are rules.
These are new additions.
These are World Athletics.
World Athletics addendums to the rules. It used to be that you could have no tape past your wrist unless there was an open cut or wound. And that was actually a thing. Like, if you had a Band-Aid there, you would have to show that you had
you would have to
be
show,
like, oh, I have a scrape there, and they would show you. That was a thing. And then they started to allow it because it was like a safety thing. And then it turned into, now people are making like little casts with their hands doing it. And like, for sure, like, there is an advantage to that. Like, I don't know how to do it. I'm not comfortable doing it, so I don't do it. But like, for sure, there is, it's an exoskeleton you're creating on the part of your body. So that's one thing. And especially a guy like Christian Cantwell, who had hand problems, that would have been mitigated very quickly, especially with the crazy strong tape that we have now, that
right.
Luco, Elastico, whatever it's called. So that's one factor. And then the other factor when I'm talking about the back of the ring is, you know, past 2017, they don't call it. You're allowed to step on the outside of the ring. Some people really step on that. Some people just brush it. But like, you know, Tom and I always joke about, like, in I think it was 2014 or 15, we were in a Doha Diamond League, and Reese Hoffa did a heel turn so that he never even got close to the back of the ring, and they called him on a foul. So everybody in this meet got called on fouls in the back of the ring. We had to start 3 inches away from the back of the ring because they were so sensitive.
Well, it's just crazy because so much of this is,
but like,
the
nowadays,
official stuff is, it's discretion though.
It's not though anymore. It's not discretion. It used to be discretion.
Well,
and
it's
now
still discretion, but
no,
you can argue it.
It's
I mean,
but now it's all allowed. It's all allowed. Because like, the second that you allow it once, it's always allowed forever. So like, there are coaches, really elite coaches, and I won't name them now, but elite coaches who are mad about this whole thing being allowed, who are now coaching their athletes to exploit it because, I mean, the rules are the rules. I mean, you got to play the course you're on.
well,
So
I mean, I think
eventually
eventually that will be something that is probably exploited and like really taught. Like, my thing with that is, okay, but here's the thing.
I don't know. I'm too old to want to try to do it, but like, there's ways you could trap it and you could grab it and you could really kind of.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, in my opinion, it's like, why is the ring even closed off if you don't have to stay inside of it in the back?
Sure.
Right? That's what I don't quite get that. Like, if that's the case, then they should just cut the back half of the ring off and it should be open. Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely, and there's a whole thing. Why is it even depressed in the first place? Like, it's just kind of weird to think about why it's down instead of up. You know, why is your circle like, why the decision?
But even if it was down or up, like, who cares? I'm saying, like, it should just be the second half of the ring, like, middle out. If that's the only part you have to stay in,
for sure.
But at the end of the day, like, once it's allowed, it's allowed, and then it's not. No one's breaking any rules if it's allowed.
It's not breaking any rules. They rewrote the rules. So, but it's one of those things. I don't want to have a side tangent here, but like, Reese Hoffa was at this meet, right? Reese Hoffa is a legend forever. I mean, I love Reese. I met him when I was in high school at a camp, and he transformed my love for the sport and taught me things. And then I got to room with him at the end of his career. So Reese has been an icon for me this whole time. The rules that when I look at Reese's PR and Reese's did, it's really hard to compare. So everybody wants to talk about the pre-steroid era, the steroid era, that almost like you have to throw those marks out. And I honestly think that there's probably a 2017, I don't know what to call it, but there's a changing of the guard of the rules that I don't think you should be able to compare some of the shot put stuff now compared to pre-2017, because it's just so different. When you can have so much tape on all your fingers, it went from you're not supposed to tape them together, people are taping them together, they put the sticky part to the outside so it sticks. Regardless of how it's happening, like, it's so hard to say, like, Reese Hoffa, what's your PR? You know? Oh, you weren't as good as these guys, but these guys have a
I
flipper
mean,
on their
it's
hand.
also the evolution of like, it's just evolution in general. Like even
Well, it's the
something
same
is,
with the super shoe.
well,
Right.
exactly. The
Yeah.
so it's the whole, it's the entire track. It's the technology of the Mondo. It's the technology of the shoes. It's also like this. Like I was talking to some people about this like last week about, like what we threw. I mean, I threw 1730 to get second at NCAA's to a woman who had the NCAA record at the time. Right? Can you imagine like throwing 1730 barely made I don't even think it made the final this year.
Yeah.
Right? So it's insane. But it's like, like I wasn't as good as those girls. Well, yeah, I wasn't like as good as those girls, but like relatively speaking, I was the second best girl in the NCAA. So it's like for the times, that was that, right? And
Well,
that's
I
the
think we
thing.
had this with our sport too. I mean, we can tangent off this, but like even the old bags and the weight, how people would talk about how they would
Exactly.
stretch
I
like
mean,
crazy,
insane.
and then like now, then it stopped, and now
Well,
they
that's one that's
now
very
now they put these holes in the bottom where it does
well,
stretch, and now
like
they just
if
outload
you
them.
think about Brittany Riley
Yeah.
and what she was doing with that thing, and she has the world record in the weight that stood for all these. Actually, she doesn't have it anymore. I think Deanna has it. But regardless, she
Or maybe
still
Gwen
has the
recently, yeah.
NCAA record, I think. But anyways, it's like, yeah, that ball is nothing compared to what the ball is now. But here's the thing.
It's all relative.
It's all relative, but also like think about this. If Reese or Christian or any of those guys would have had a cell phone that you could set up in the back of the ring and watch every single frame of every single thing you do, that makes things like, here's the thing. If I would have had my phone in high school, I guarantee, first of all, I would have had my phone to watch my own video. Second of all, I would have had the information of these coaches just like saying stuff, and I could have not only watched myself, watched other people, and then listened to coaches that actually know what they're doing talk on the internet. I guarantee you I would have thrown way farther than I did. I know it. There's not a doubt in my mind. I could have got information about my diet. I could have got information about the weight room. I could have got information of, that thrower, look how they do this one thing and that one thing. Like all of those things are helping a lot. And even like for
there's no doubt about the information. I mean, Julius Yego taught himself how to throw the javelin from YouTube.
But that's the thing.
And he
That's
became
what
a
I'm
world
saying.
champion.
Like,
so it's
all.
just
That's why things are getting better. But like, just also to speak to that and to speak to the caliber of the meet at Prefontaine, 5 guys over 22 meters. The guys that didn't throw 22 meters easily could have thrown 22 meters,
yeah,
right?
I mean, Peyton was.
Everybody
a cough
was
away from.
Yeah, I mean,
over there.
like there could have been the
Tom
whole
could have done it.
field.
Fabry should have done it. Yeah,
the whole field could have been 22 meters, right?
Easily.
But here's the thing about it too. Like, the other thing that people were talking about is the fact that all the 5 guys that threw 22 are like 6 foot to 6'1". And my thing with that is like, in my opinion, and this is like honestly in an unbiased way, I'm saying this, I know for 100% fact that all 5 of those guys, so the other 4 that threw 22 beyond you, all of those guys have been heavily influenced by what you've done. And you probably don't see it that way or think that way, but like, it's just, there's no 2 ways around it. Every single one of those guys can't look at the only other man on the planet that's thrown farther than you and be like, that's what I should be doing, because that's not going to work for them in a lot of ways. Right? Like, like, just think about this. You're the only one that even looks remotely close to what they are. So I think it's heavily influenced what they think that their potential is to be able to do this.
Always, every time we have an interview, like
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Like, I saw Joe do this, so I copied them. I saw this, I'm just like, man, I got to stop doing stuff.
No, but I mean, he says it in a way that like,
no,
I mean,
I understand it.
but it's good. But he's like, I think that he knows this is a guy that I can move like. This is a guy that's a similar size to me. This is a guy that I think I can learn something from, And so it's like, yeah, but I mean, all those guys have. So it's like, that's part of the evolution as well. Right. And so I think it's a good thing. And the other thing is too, 20 years ago, a guy like Rajendra would only see you every once in a while. It's not like he could look up your throw to see what your left foot's doing. Like he said that before, like sometimes in practice, if I feel like my left foot's not where I want to be, I've looked at this video I have on my phone to Joe. Like 20 years ago, you couldn't do that with somebody. Sure. You weren't going to like pull out your VHS
it was like a flip book or
right. You're not going to like pull it out and like video them in a practice or, hey man, can you throw so I can like, these are all reasons why things are getting so much better.
I mean, I agree with you too. And then like, I think obviously there's a lot of information out there. I would recommend most people don't listen to all of it, but I think when you get the coolest thing for me, when I think of information, is not when somebody tells you what to do. I love watching people's bad throws. I love watching the misses. I love watching that because like when you just watch somebody's PR when everything's clicking, it's almost like, I don't want to call it an outlier, But like one of the things that like helped me on side tangent here, but like when Ryan Whiting came to train at the Penn State, I saw Ryan throw really far a few times. I really benefited seeing Ryan struggle, because those struggles are where I learned how to make my struggles better. So I think when you watch like a video and you watch a track meet and you're like maybe a young guy and you're like, I'm going to watch how this person does it. Watch some of the throws that aren't their best throws, right? Because there is a trend that you might pick up on. And I think that's where the real lessons I think are being learned when the coaches out there are watching everything now and they're keeping data like yourself and you're watching trends. I think there's a lot to be learned out there. And I think that there's more to come. I said this in the press conference. I'm really lucky, year 13. I've been part of this big tidal wave. I've been at the front of it or the tip of it for a long time in my career, but like the depth of the wave behind me, there's just so much more to come. So, I mean, I'm going to try to stay on top for as long as I can, but like, I don't see the sport going back to 2150 being a competitive mark. You know,
Right.
it's almost like that's Prefontaine had this big thing for you guys who don't know listening. They used to put a 70-foot line out. They were so proud of like, we had more 70-foot throws here in Hayward Field than anywhere else in the world. It was such like a thing of pride. The first half of my career, that's all they talked about. And it's so weird to be at Pre and have them not talk about it now, because it's almost laughable to
They'll
talk
probably
about.
put a 22-meter line out next year.
Well, they probably will.
Or
I mean,
like, well, there is a 22
well, they have
line,
more.
but they'll
They definitely
like,
probably have more 22-meter throws than anywhere else in the world.
okay, let's just put this in
and they
perspective.
have the more 23s.
So let's put this into perspective.
Ryan's thrown 23 there. I've thrown 23. So there's nowhere else that has that many 23-meter throws.
Exactly. But here's the thing too. Until this meet, there was only one 22-meter throw in the year as Fabry, not at a Diamond League.
Did Peyton throw 22 at Ironwood?
No, he threw 22 something at Ironwood.
Yeah.
He had a couple throws over that at Ironwood.
But Fabry was a farther.
Fabry's was, yeah. But
30 or something.
regardless, what I'm trying to say is there was no 22-meter throws at a Diamond League.
Yeah.
Every Diamond League that we've had so far has been one at 2190 something.
Yeah.
And now this meet, 6 men threw over the farthest mark to win a Diamond League to this point. I mean, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And so, I mean, just in general, I think, like you said, a lot of factors on that: good energy, good environment, good juju from the morning. And I think, you know, overall it was good. I mean, I think we knew you were probably going to throw a season's best at the very least at this meet, just the way that, you know, things were trending and kind of like feeling like you were getting physically back to form. Yeah. And I know everybody's like super geeked out about your warm up, which I think is pretty, like, here's the thing about that I think is interesting. I sincerely think some people don't realize that you've thrown 23 meters, like, in a meet 3 times, like that your PR is 23-23. So say that throw was, even just say it was 23-50, say it was. I don't see why that's like the craziest thing in the world. Like, obviously it's farther than you threw in the meet, but like, I feel like when people warm up, like within a foot or so over their PR, it's like not that big of a deal. But every time you do it, I feel like it's like, it just like blows people's mind apart. I'm like, do you not realize that he's thrown 23-23 and he threw 23-13 and 23-05 at this meet last year? So it's like, I feel like I don't really understand why that like blows everybody's mind apart so much, because it's not that far away from what you've actually thrown.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
I just think it's
never
funny,
get caught
like,
up with it. I mean, it's always weird to me. People like will go
it's just like
thousands of messages about.
It's also just like somebody said this, somebody commented on, somebody posted it, and then somebody else posted it, and then people were like, oh, he blew out, like it's a blowout throw. Well, I have the back view and you're in the ring, just FYI.
No, I didn't foul it.
You didn't foul it. I have the back view and you stayed actually legitimately like white flag in the circle, just for facts. But who cares? It's still a warm up. No one cares. It's not like first of all, you won the meet. It'd be one thing if we were like posting it after the meet and you got like 6, like, oh my gosh, you did terrible, but you had this huge warm up. Like,
yeah,
we don't ever talk about it.
I mean, this is one of those things, the podcast. It's like, I guess it's good to say. It's like, it gets really weird for me because like, I don't post a foul video. I barely even post any videos of anything. So it's like, people I think sometimes think I'm like bragging about a foul, like a
We've
warm-up.
never said anything about it. I mean, we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like literally there's
it's
only
weird
like,
because I get so many like questions and inquiries about something that I'm just like, I just remember the meet happening, and then like 3 hours after the meet, it's like the conversation's not about the meet.
it's funny to me because it's like, I don't understand why people think I think people think you're going out there trying to like beat Hercules and like throw the world record in warm up. It's like, it has nothing to do with that. You're relaxed. The rhythm of like okay, you get in the ring, you get back in the ring, you're able to like get instant feedback, go right back into the ring. To me, it's not that hard to believe that you're able to throw relaxed and well in the warm up. Like, would we like you to throw your farthest throw of the day in the competition? Yes. Does that happen often? Yes. But the times it doesn't happen, I feel like people like lose their minds. But if we did this for everybody else, okay, like I can think of 3 people right now that did not get top 5 in that meet that I know for facts threw farther in the warm up than they do in the meet because I watched them warm up. But nobody talks about that. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't understand why it's like so crazy.
I mean, it's interesting to me, and like part of that perspective on this too, and like obviously people love that San Diego throw, and there's a lot.
I mean, that was far. That throw you probably that throw you probably couldn't have stayed in the ring.
I didn't stay in the ring,
and you didn't stay in the ring.
I wasn't trying to.
But here's the thing: the throw you stayed in the ring, but also if that throw it probably was about 20 centimeters farther than you've ever thrown, maybe.
But here's what I'm gonna say.
Big deal though, like.
But I mean, obviously, I hate talking about this, but you're going to make me talk about this on here. But like, whatever. I'm not
going to make you talk about it, but
I don't like talking like you don't count the fish you didn't catch, right?
But we're not talking about it.
What I'm going to say is, in terms of a season as a professional, first of all, you have to get the job done when you get done. That's why I have a bunch of medals, because I focus on getting a job done. If I was just trying to throw far all the time, I guarantee you I wouldn't have as many medals as I do. I might have a farther PR, 100%. It probably would be at like a garage strength meet where I'm hyped up like crazy, but it's not going to give me one that gets me a 6-figure paycheck, right? So I have to focus on being a professional performer, not a hype man who's,
I just think it's so funny because it's not like you walked out after that throw.
No, but
you didn't scream on that throw. You didn't show any emotion or excitement after that throw.
What I'm going to say is, in 2019, which was, I almost quit earlier this season, all that kind of stuff. People know the backstory of that. And like, I go to my first Diamond League, and we're finally, I'm working with you. We're getting things clicking in the right direction. I think I got like second last at the Diamond League. I didn't do well, right? I know I didn't throw far at the Diamond League. It was in Doha, the same stadium the World Championships were later that year in October. And you've heard from many people, and I will tell you that like, I was making the ball go far. I threw about 22.90 something in the warm up, and I was blowing out of the ring. It was sloppy. But my job's to be a cannon. I got to launch the ball. So like, me seeing the ball go 22.90 something or whatever it was doing in the warm-ups, I didn't leave Doha being like, oh, I got 6th place. Well, I went being like, all right, like we can figure this stuff out. We got to stay in the ring. We got to do it at USA's. That's my job as a pro, right? So by the time I got to Doha, and obviously the last round, and you throw 22.91, it was in the bank the whole time.
Right.
But like, you had to do all the other stuff that's, like, my problem is I focus on doing this as a job. Like, if it was like a passion of like, I can't wait to throw far, I think I could throw really far, right? But like, I need to make sure I get another medal so we have healthcare for our family. I need to make sure I pay for our bills, our lifestyle, so I can buy more rentals, so I can retire when I'm done with this and be happy about it. So like, I view this as an actual occupation. And I think because of that, it probably takes out some of the enjoyment and the luster and the excitement to like, let's just see how far I can throw. And that's why that relaxation I don't have in the meet. I'm not thinking, let's see how far I can throw. I'm thinking, I haven't won a Diamond League this year. I need to get these points. I need to get this win. I'm a Nike athlete representing the U.S. at a home field. Do your job, stay grounded, stay level, and get it done. And like, of course, that doesn't mean I can't throw farther, but like, I need to worry about, like, you say control your controllables, right? The controllables of what I know gets the job done is not the controllables of what I know makes the ball go far. Because what makes the ball go far, I might be on the toe board sometimes. I might be a little bit out of the ring. I might be a little bit high. I might be here. I might be there, right? I don't want to roll those dice when I have everything else.
Well, I mean, and I think it's, we've talked about this before too. And I talked about this for like an hour at a coaches convention before. And it was talking about you at the Olympic trials, and you had a huge war with the Olympic trials, and you made the team. I think you threw like a 22.50 or something around that, but you had a huge war with that everybody was talking about. And I was just like, you guys don't understand. Like, he wasn't there to get that throw. He was there to make the team.
Yeah.
And that was the meet that you said to me, this isn't a track meet. And I was like, what do you mean? This is the Olympic trials. How are you going to sit here and tell me this is not a track meet? It is like the track meet. You're like, this is a qualifier. And I mean, like for me as a coach, that was like a very profound moment for me because I was just like, regardless of what I thought, that does not matter at all. It was like, it gave me some insight as to what you were thinking, but also I understood it in the sense that like, you were like, I would rather be second and in control, like not out of control, and make sure I am on this team than go try to break the world record and maybe be in a 2-foul situation. And it's like, that's the thing that these internet trolls do not understand. They will never understand that this is not like...
Listen, nobody will understand except one other person what it's like to have a ball. And honestly, I probably have thrown farther in warm-ups than even Ryan. So I'm going to say this. Nobody knows what it's like to have the ball come off like that. So I'm never offended by what somebody's Twitter fingers or whatever go off saying, because they're obviously not strong enough to do it in real life or that man enough to do it. But I'd rather be able to do it than not be able to do it. That's what it just comes down to. Like, it's not like I'm like trying to have some crazy warm-up to like puff my chest. I'd rather be like, if I have a far warm-up, that means I'm aligned, my direction's good, impression's good. It's what we need to do.
Right.
So do I want to try to replicate that? Absolutely. Is there a lot of lull between announcing and all the other things? Sure. Does my mindset go from thinking about throwing technically to throwing competitively? Yes. And is that probably my downfall in the career why I've had all these big far throws? 100%. Is that also the reason I have 8 medals straight and nobody else does? 100%. So like, it pisses me off sometimes just because it's like, it's a very JV level of thinking.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I want to get on the bus and you don't know what it's like to have the weight of expectations. But like, it's been this like, anxiety of like, you are responsible, and there's a reverence that if you are going to be on that team because you took somebody else's spot, don't let them be at home looking up the results thinking, I could have done that there.
Right.
And like, I think that's probably why I have such an extreme view on this. Like, there's a difference of a track meet. There's a difference of a fun meet, right? There's a difference of a warm up. There's a difference of like an all comers. Like, yeah, I would probably benefit from going to a couple all comers meet where there's not prize money and appearance fee and just like whipping the ball and seeing how it goes. Sure, that would benefit. But there's a whole game to be played. Like, I can't go to a meet for no appearance fee because another meet director knows I went for no appearance fee. So now they're going to offer me half of what they did before. There's a whole game that your agent has to play. And I've been playing this game so long that I'm kind of protecting a level of, there's no fun meets. There's paydays.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, whatever. Right? Like, at the end of the day, you did your job at Prefontaine. That's how I see it. Like, check the box, win the meet.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
weird because I'm like pissed off because it's like you more than me, because I don't really, obviously people know this, I don't read as much as you do there. I'll repost some stuff. There's a reason I don't, because like the side tangents of people talking about a warm-up or me being like, I think 2248 pretty good. I don't know if it's in my top 10. It's close to my top 10, definitely top 15 meets or something like that. And in the ring, I think there was more there. I think I was missing it. I competed well. I wish the first throw was a little bit better, but I think I got a little tight thrown off with the way that the order that they said they were going to go in, because originally I was first and then put Fabi first. Anyway, like, I'll look back at that. It was a good meet. It was a good fulcrum point for the season to kind of propel us into the actual meets that count, which are all the meets that actually count are in August. And then, of course, September, the World Championships. So you got to have these meets that prepare you, and they also have to prepare you not in terms of distance. Like, okay, if I threw 23 something meters at this meet, how does my life change?
Yeah, I know.
Other than the expectation of having to do it again and again and again. Like, obviously you win the meet, you get paid, you go home.
Right.
And like, you obviously got to come back, and USA's people are going to be ready to throw far.
Right. I mean, obviously people are throwing far. People are throwing far right now. Like, like you said, it's more so it's people that have no idea. And they honestly are like comparing what you're doing to what they see high school kids doing or college kids doing. And it's nothing, like you said, nothing the same. There's only one person on this planet that, like, I would implore their opinion about anything that you're doing if they said something, because there's only one person on this planet that's, I mean, is anybody alive besides Ryan that's thrown 23 meters besides you?
Randy Barnes is still alive. I think.
Okay, Randy,
I don't know
who
if
else?
Wolf is. I don't know if Timmerman is. That's bad to say, but I think he is. But I don't know.
How many
I've never met
people?
Tim Room. There's only 4 people who ever threw over 23.
Okay, so 4 people
Yeah.
have ever thrown over
Yeah.
23.
Ryan, myself, Randy, and then Tim Room.
And then and everyone's gonna say Fabry. Fabry's thrown 22.93 or something.
Yeah.
22.90.
There's a
So
lot of
he's right
90s.
there.
Yeah, he's not even next. I think it's I think
Yes, he is.
Is he next?
Yes. I don't know if there's another European or something, but like currently, obviously, and then Tom.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think Oldfield was maybe he's 89 or 90. He might be 95.
Either way,
I mean, it's
regardless,
close.
I'm just saying it's
Tom's
like
at
it
91.
reminds me of the Michael Jordan quote that you know that I love because you've never won anything. Like these people that think they know what they're talking about. And like here's the thing, I have one coach that I'll talk to about business and I care what he says. And I listen to him and I think he knows a lot and then he knows what he's talking about. I think even he knows you're not a normal case. It's not like you're a college kid. So nobody's going to really be able to tell us how you're going to throw 2350, 2375, 24 meters. No one can tell us that because no one else has done that. So it's like, I don't really necessarily care what anybody thinks, but I also just, I think it's rude. Like you won the meet, you did a good job. Why are people picking on the warm up? Like people are acting like we posted it and like, see this? We don't say a thing about it. The only time we ever say anything about it is just on this to be like, why are you guys acting like we're the ones like putting it out there? Like we don't.
I mean, specifically, I told you I'm not talking about that. I know you're going to bring it up on this, but this is the whole point of doing this. And I think it's good for transparency. It's good to hear people. I think there's probably high school kids out there who might be in the same situation.
Listen, dude, if you're a high school kid and you throw far in warm-ups and everyone's telling you to stop throwing far in warm-ups, just keep throwing far and you'll eventually stay in the ring. Like I get it. Try to do better with your technique and you will stay in the ring. But the worst thing anybody could ever tell you is to not throw far. That's the sport. Throw far and then figure out how to stay in the ring. That's our advice. Like, don't ever slow it down and try to minimize yourself. And cool, you go from being a 60-foot kid to a 55-foot kid that can stay in the ring and no one cares. No one's going to remember that.
I mean, I 100% agree with that. I mean, I think that I see this happening so much and it just like pains me. It happened when you were coaching college and see other people do this. And it's like, somebody would do something well.
Like, did you ever hear me tell anybody to slow down?
I'm not saying you, but I'm saying like I would see this. I'd see somebody do something well, and they would get de-coached down because it was like, oh, it was no warm up, or they fouled it, and like.
Well, you try to tame these people so much that then they have no wild fight left in them, and then they suck.
Yeah.
So I'd rather that's the thing. Like, the thing that I said in like one of my staff meetings that turned out to be this thing. It's like, everyone's talking about these kids and these kids and they're crazy and this and that. And I'm just sitting there being like, and the head coach is like, what do you have to say about this? And I'm like, I don't know why everybody's so concerned by trying to fix these kids crazy. Like, let them go. Point them in the right direction. Like, let them use their energy in the right way. Like, I never wanted to tame somebody's wild. Because I resented that being done to me. In certain ways, I feel like I was at my best when I was just being me. And then you get this whole thing of like, oh my God, I need to just focus on my technique. Whatever, dude. Nobody's focusing on their technique when they're trying to win. I'm telling you that right now. Yeah. You either have it or you don't. And am I saying, technique isn't important? Absolutely not. But your technique better be good enough that you can bring some heat and bring the wild into it and like let it rip.
Especially once you get to the real part of the season and definitely the championship part of the season. Like, if you ain't got it like that, you ain't going back in the ring and fixing your arm because that's your technique problem. Like,
I love it. Like, you think
out.
that any of these people that have medals are coached in the sand being like, let's just like get the angle up a little bit and a little more dorsiflexion. Like, if anyone says that, I'm just like, dude.
Well, nobody actually says that. You know,
but that's what I'm saying.
But people who don't know.
But people think that that's what is happening.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's just, if it is, it's just like, I don't know. Maybe everyone else is doing that. Maybe that's our problem. Maybe everyone else is coaching.
I know every good coach there is out there, and they all know. I mean, we're probably speaking for them by saying this. I mean, like, there's common trends that happen. People die. People get excited. I mean, it's cues like that. Like, but at the end of the day, it's especially a championship season. If you're coaching at a meet, you messed up. You know, coaches should be able to go to the meet and enjoy.
Well, it's like we said the last one.
And if they're not enjoying, they should be able to say like.
Well, it's not always the most enjoyable thing. It is definitely stressful, but
you don't enjoy. But that's just because that's what I do.
Well, it's like you said the last time, the mechanics versus dynamics of it. Like, if you're going to go out there and try to like make a tune up on a car before it's supposed to be going out to fire, like you just don't do that. Like you might check the engine, make sure everything looks good, give it a one over. But if you think you're going to overhaul the engine the day of the meet, you got some real problems.
Well, I think that's maybe a good analogy. You're talking about the engine. It's just like normally fastest laps at like Formula One races are set on qualifying day when the entire point is to have the fastest lap. But like you're not going to risk it all in the middle of the actual race itself the next day because you got a bunch of laps to do, right? So you got to make sure you stay in your lane, you strategize, and yeah, is it not the fastest lap? I mean, sometimes it obviously happens in the competition, but like in the actual race itself, but like the point of the day, like this goes to the warm-up example, this goes to time of the year. It's just like when the F1 racers are going out there fastest lap, they're putting half the amount of fuel in the tank to keep the car lighter. Everything's optimized for speed. And then the next day it's optimized to win.
Right.
And I think an athlete needs to learn there's days that you have throw sessions or smash sessions, that Vestine used to call it, where like he would encourage, I remember watching his guys to foul out of the ring like crazy just to get the whip and get the feeling.
I mean, like we've talked about this before and like you have taught me this. It's like called blowing it out. Like, I mean, that is something that cars do. Like we talk about this, warming up the tires, blowing it out. Blowing it out means get moving. Like, let's see.
And honestly, for me, and you can attest to this, once I start blowing it out like crazy, I actually get so much more control that I stay in the ring.
But that's the thing.
But like, there's so many people who never
understand.
let that happen.
Right. I mean, I don't care. Like, we're not going to apologize for anything that you do. Like, what you've done maybe it's not as successful as people think that it should be, but it's been pretty damn successful. Pretty freaking successful. 99% of the time, it has been. Do you throw bad sometimes? Sure. Have you thrown well when it mattered most of the time? Yeah. So I don't really care what anybody thinks about it. I only care because I'm just like, why? Like, why is that the takeaway? But it's the internet. So it's like, whatever, dude.
Yeah,
whatever. Okay. But here's the other point. Okay. When's the last time that you have thrown far in the meat and fouled out the front? Because I haven't seen that in 5 or 6 freaking years.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing you. Here's the thing. I've never like put my eye on a mark and been like, I wonder what that would have been if you wouldn't have fouled it. You don't foul out of the front of the ring in the meet. So everyone will be like, oh, Joe's got these 4 fouls and he's got these 4 warm-ups. I can't do it. It's like, all right, bro.
It's a weird narrative I hear all the time. And just like I foul. People used to tell me I foul all the time, but like it's weird that like, I almost don't foul at all anymore.
The only time you have a foul is when you step off
on purpose. Right? Maybe like it's almost, or like, you know, obviously they happen here and there, but like at the same time, it's odd for me because honestly, we would probably have a farther season's best if I challenged the front a little more.
I feel like we've talked about that before. I feel like
more.
We've talked about this. Like, I'd like to see you take a miss off the front. Like, no, like I'd like to see you blow one out. Like, if you had a good throw and you have one more throw left, like. We talked about this. This was a Doha thing. It's a PR or it's a foul. Like, there's no middle, right? And so, yeah, I mean, you don't really foul too much. So, I mean, I don't know. Everyone else seems to know a whole lot more about you than me or you know about you. So, it's what it is. I mean, it is what it is. Like, that's fine. At least you're relevant enough that people are talking about you. So, we'll just take that for what it is.
Well, I listen to you and you can tell me that because I mean, there's a reason I stay away from most stuff, and I haven't posted training videos that everybody wants to see me do a back jerk and squat and this because it's always noise, and the noise always tends to.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not. It's literally like not worth it to post stuff because there's more like micro annoyances just from ignorant people.
But if you do want to see
positive
stuff, message Ashley and we'll put it up on THROvacs as we grow this podcast.
Yeah, I'm probably not the best because like I feel like these little like micro annoyances, I'm like just like one like bad day away from just like popping off, and it's probably not
as long as it's not popped up on me. I mean, I feel like I'm my throwing's trending.
I mean, I don't like it when I feel like people are like I don't anything that's like that feels disrespectful towards you is like a little triggering for me, and like I just don't. I mean, the same way, Joe. If anybody ever said anything about me,
wife, like you say, it's nice that it does trigger you because
I mean, if anybody ever said anything about me, you would not like it.
Yeah, I mean, I go nuts, but I act instantly when that happens. It's like when somebody says something to me, like I don't react at all. You've never seen me react.
React at all.
You've never seen me react. You've never seen anything, and 99% of the time, you never even know I acknowledge that I actually heard something, right? But yeah, if anybody's ever said something to you, I go. I mean, I escalate. because I mean it's just dumb because there's nothing to be said. But I mean
It's all right.
that's the difference. That's what having a spouse, liking your spouse is. So I mean, I guess that's good.
Don't mess with JoJo. Yeah.
He could tell people they'll
Do
enjoy this.
not.
The only time you actually see me angry are like Jimmy John's delivery driver going
That
the
was
wrong
bad.
place. And
Divine help.
Divine Oladipo could tell you like that was a moment. Don't mess with me.
Divine,
and then like if
Divine
you go
was
get
so
a bagel,
scared.
no, if you get a bagel, remember the guy at Dunkin' Donuts?
Yes, I sure do.
And
Cleveland Airport,
and he didn't
2023.
Oh man, and he skipped.
Joe asked for extra cream cheese. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. Joe's like, yeah, let me get everything bagel with extra cream cheese, which by the way, like, ew, like who's going to order extra cream cheese? But Joe is very committed. Joe wants the cream cheese layer to be like as thick as the bagel, but like, don't let me get going on that.
I 100%.
So
the top layer.
But like
didn't
I teach you something after this though? Do you remember what I taught you?
Don't
order it.
You can't be toasted because
Exactly.
if it's toasted, they can't smear the
So
cream cheese on.
I taught Joe. I just said,
doesn't
listen.
stick
I
as
said,
well.
Joe, so basically the story is the bagel was hot. They over toasted it, which he didn't say. They said, "Do you want it toasted?" Joe said yes. The bagel was hot. The cream cheese became a liquid. He takes the bagel out, opens it up to realize that there's barely any cream cheese because it's all melted down and all he can see is like brown burnt bagel. The look on his face. So I see Joe's face just go like, I mean, it was like lights out. Goes up to the kid that put the thing on. He holds the bagel up to the kid. He's like, does this look like extra cream cheese? The kid like threw like 20 packs of cream cheese at Joe. And Joe just sits back down huffing. I was like, this is what you get mad about? This is where you're gonna have a problem? You weren't mean to the kid, but the kid could tell that he struck a nerve.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually get that too often. The times I remember, the Jimmy John's guy,
that was bad. I mean, there are only a few times where I've had to de-escalate you, and yeah, they mainly sourced around you were hangry, or tired,
definitely,
and yeah, those times you were very mad. Yeah, it's been like delivery drive. They're victims. I mean, yeah. So
I will tell you, this is probably a trend, and this is maybe off topic, but like when you have expectations of how something should be, especially when it has to do with food. Especially when it's just like, it's not even fancy food. Like you're not rolling the dice of like,
no,
is this
it's a franchise chain of something
when you know what you want to get, and you don't get that expectation. Oh man, that's internal
There's actually
rage.
there's some psychology behind that. It's like this like perceived dopamine.
Well, it
is. There's a thing about it.
Okay, but this is probably good to
there's actual science on
bring
this.
it back to throwing. Like when you say franchise food, like we don't love talking about like Subway or Jersey Mike's. Like we try not to eat like that unless we're on the road or this. Obviously, occasionally we do because I enjoy it. I'm a big hoagie guy, sandwich guy. But like when I was in Doha for 2019, all I wanted to eat all day was what?
Subway sandwiches.
And like people like thought it was kind of weird or funny. There's a point when you're in season where it's just like you're not going to roll the dice on the questionable Mexican place down the street.
I mean,
right?
Can I like vote if I think it's questionable to eat 3 feet of Subway tuna
with a backup? No, it was tuna. No, tuna was breakfast.
That's kind of gutsy.
Tuna
in
was
itself.
breakfast.
You're in Doha. You're in like a way different country ordering tuna.
That's probably wasn't even tuna.
Like remember when there was that whole like thing that Subway did not use real tuna? That was disproven, by the way, but. They were saying that their tuna was actually not tuna.
I like knowing after, like, okay, people listening, close your eyes. Chipotle, you walk out, you know how you feel. Subway sandwich, you know how you feel when you walk out of there. There's something to be said about like not just how it tastes or whatever, you know how you feel. Subway sandwich, we're in Doha. Obviously, you're eating at this like food hall for all the athletes, and the food was good. I didn't know how I was gonna feel. Right, especially with the tabbouleh and everything else there, and gets everything going differently, right? So like
for you,
but especially the quantities I'm eating. But
exactly.
I ate a lot of Subway sandwiches before the Doha World Championships because I like knowing when I finished that sandwich and then I went down to the bus, I knew exactly what was coming.
Yeah, I mean you're big on that, and I respect it. I mean that's your thing, and sandwiches are important to you, and
I call
cream
it pocket
cheese is important to you.
For high school kids out there. I call it pocket sandwich, but it's like, this is one of those things like.
Because like if you see Joe Kovacs walking down the street with like pants that really aren't that big, when you just see like a huge sandwich like in his pocket, just like think of me, okay? Because the fact that the way that he thinks that that's normal and the way that my son will probably think that Like when I see my little son walking around with like a 6-inch sub poking out of his pocket, like it's going to be par for the course. Like it will track, but just have some feel bad
As
for
an
me.
athlete, you'd rather make sure you have same.
But Ken, why can't you put it in your backpack? Like, why do you have to put a full-on sandwich in your pocket? Like, it's not like you're acting like it's like a little piece of chocolate or something like a little piece of candy you get from your grandma.
Unless I ate the other half, so you always get the biggest one possible. But
like, who puts a foot-long sub in their pocket?
You'd rather have it than not, right?
I don't disagree with you. I just don't like how you
I've thrown away
carry
so
them.
many sandwiches in my
You know how
career.
many sandwiches I found in your bag, which I don't want to go there.
But that's the thing. I'd rather have it in there and not eat it than be at the meet and being like, oh, I wish I was a little bit hungry, but maybe I'll have a Cliff Bar. Like, that's not, that ain't doing it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like, I got to have something real. So the pocket sandwich is real.
You could have a Snickers like you had in the middle of the meet in Budapest.
Which I'm thankful for you to
Yeah, you should be thankful for me because
you thought about it.
At that point, when I had two, like, how old were they? 8-month-old babies a mile away at the Airbnb we were staying at, and I walked by this vending machine and I'm like, I don't know if I packed him any snacks for his bag. And I'm like, what am I going to do? There's nothing in here but candy. But I was like, all right, let's see. What's the lesser evil in here? And it was, at least Snickers have some protein maybe because of the peanuts. And then you're like out of it completely after the third round. There's a Snickers in your bag.
That's what she yelled. It's be funny. People look by video, they're like these are like the coaches take like Ashley's saying, like, keep your chest up at this angle. No, it's go eat the Snickers, just like the Betty White commercial for Snickers.
Yeah, but it worked.
I was throwing like Betty White out there, and then I had the Snickers, and then he punched a metal, even though it was a little ugly. So,
oh, that'll be a memory.
Yeah,
if it's not already.
Not a good one, but
yeah, we can wrap up by talking about. You mentioned in the beginning of the podcast about my competition. We can talk about my competition.
Yes, I think that was actually the highlight competition of the weekend.
Well, that might have really got it going.
It did. It was good juices. I felt good.
Because that elevated me. So, yeah, we can just say what happened.
Okay, every time we go to Eugene, Oregon, we go lift at this place called Eastside Barbell. First of all, one of my favorite gyms in the world, but we really love the owners. And we got there. And
Melissa and Lauren.
Melissa was there, right? And then...
They're the owners, though.
Okay, Melissa and Lauren. Melissa was there. She was saying hi to you. And then she said something about like, oh, tomorrow I'm running a 10K. And Ashley's ears perked up. And then she said, Dane signed up for the 10K earlier.
She said, I told Dane about it. And Dane signed up and then registration.
And she's like, I should have told you. Maybe I didn't think you'd be interested. So then
she said, I didn't know if you ran or whatever.
And then we found out that the registration closed at like whatever, 5 o'clock.
And it was like 5:20.
It was 5:20. But then we kept talking more. Then we found out that the Oregon Track Club ran the 10K, the Butte to Butte thing. So we're thinking, well, Jada Ross runs for Oregon Track Club. We know a lot of Oregon Track Club people. We're staying at the hotel for the entire meet. For everything else, we're like Nike running headquarters is at the meet. Like we got to figure out a way. So we call our agent, Karen Locke. Of course, like Karen gets back to you in like no time. It's just like, call this guy. And he's of course the head of Oregon Track Club, like goes to the top. Ashley sends him a text, literally like within 5 minutes, she's registered for the race. She's in the right category as women's and her age
pick
group.
Pick up my bib number.
And pick up her bib number, 25 minutes later. So that was not only the best like speed lift, because it kind of got me, it really made sure I got out of there quickly so we got your bib. But then we got back, got your number, got to bed early.
I mean, obviously I was just tickled by the whole thing. I mean, the thing was like 10K, that's about 6 miles,
6.2.
Yeah. So I think I've maybe run one 10K before. I've run 2 half marathons, but not for a really long time. And obviously not since I delivered 2 babies out of my body.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure how that was going to go quite exactly. Like I haven't really been running. I run like 3 miles, maybe like once or twice a week, but that's not like my main form of exercise right now. Like I ride my bike a lot. I do yoga, lift a little bit here and there, but like, it's not like I've had times where I've run like 3, 4, 5 times a week. I have had
especially
times
when you were getting ready for that marathon, the half marathon.
Yeah. I mean, I ran 5 days a week, right? Like I was in it. Like I trained for like, I don't know, 8 weeks, pretty intense. And even before that I was running. Like I wouldn't really say I was running, but I was just like, whatever, like, I don't care. I'll finish it and it'll be fun because I like doing things. Like, I mean, anytime I have an opportunity to do anything competitive like that, like, and it's not because like, oh, I'm going to beat somebody. It's just because like, I like competing. I like to see where I stack up. Like, that's the thing I love about those races is like, it immediately gives you like so many metrics. Like, this is where you finished overall. This is where you finished against the women. This is where you finished with women your age. This is where you finished overall, men and women. Like, so you get really cool statistics about it. But like, yeah, I was pretty gassed. Like, as soon as I realized I could do it.
Well, and some of the backstory. So if you do it, you brought trail shoes because you thought you'd run breeze
Yeah,
trail.
so I
You're
brought
there.
like old
But
shoes.
you didn't have like running shoes.
No,
then
and so Karen hooked me up
ran to
again.
Nike and got some. They were good shoes, good running shoes.
And they
weren't any crazy super shoes. So maybe
no. If I would have had my super shoes now, because I do have the
Alpha
super
Flies,
shoes. If I would have had my Alpha Flies, I would have been really, really going after it.
Faith better watch out.
But yeah, no, but like literally, like Joe's like bragging about my running, and then there's like Faith walks by and running like a 4-minute mile, and I'm just like, it puts me back in check real quick. But yeah, I mean, I was super pumped about it. But I mean, I think that it's just, it's like I said to you though. It was one of those things where I was excited to just like be involved in something, and it was fun to just kind of like get my mind off of
the meat. And also part of being at these meets is that it's kind of boring in the sense of you do a lot of hurry up to wait, right? Yeah. So like you do your lift and you do your throwing, and then you whatever you're gonna do, and then like you kind of have a rest day, and you got to be careful not to like burn it.
Yeah, I mean, and there's just like so much camaraderie at those things. Like there were 6,000 people there. That's a lot of people. It's Eugene, right? Like it's Oregon. I loved it. I came over for the finish line. And every like race I've been to, I have a great time because obviously I don't run it. But like at the finish line, there's a bunch of free stuff. Literally, Joe is like,
Joe
loves supporting me at every single time I've ever done a race, because like when I ran the Columbus Half Marathon, the last 2 times I did it, every time I saw Joe, he was eating a different like venue sandwich from a different place.
I mapped
it out. He had like 4 different stops for food in the hour and 50 minutes it took me to run.
There's one spot we go for coffee, then you come back down.
And then he had a bagel, and then he had a breakfast sandwich.
You can see him walking down this side in the bagel. They had proper cream cheese ratio, so that was cool. And then I came back on the other side and watched you finish. It was great. I had a great time.
Yeah, I know you did. I know you did. But yeah, I mean, like...
Anyway, hey, when you were in your turkey trot, they give you all those pumpkin pies that you don't want at the end, so I'm just like, I'll take them.
So Joe has like 7 pumpkin pies.
Yeah, that's the real hack, is like at the end of these like fun
they
runs.
do, because I mean, it's true, they do. It is, but it's just super fun. And I mean, I felt like also the opportunity to do like a fun run in Eugene, where it's like track town, like people love track. So that was super fun. I think also the other thing about it, it's like humbling when you realize that like all these people that are volunteering, handing out water, like setting up the booths and whatever, like they're all just volunteering their time for people. So it's like it's very nice. Like, and there's people on the trail that you're running. There's people that are like outside their house and they have signs and they're ringing bells and they're cheering you on. It's like, you didn't have to get out of your bed to like, just like clap for people. So it's nice, And then I think, I told you the same thing, Joe, like everybody said to me the day before when they found out I signed up, the first 2 miles of that thing are up a hill. Like, it was very steep. Hence my like 850 mile, 716 mile 3, because I was straight down the hill. But you're going up this hill and it's like, it's pretty tough. So the first 2 miles you're like really questioning, like, I'm not sure if I bit off more than I could chew here. But one of the things that like really like hit me was I was like running up the hill, and there was a guy that was in a wheelchair, and he was doing the race in his wheelchair, and just like thinking, wow, my legs are tired. And this guy is just hauling up this hill in his wheelchair. And I'm just thinking, like, I mean, to me, I'm sure for him, it wasn't like a scary thing, but for me, I'm just like, man, like, you are wheeling up this hill. Like, that is so, like, to me, that's just like so crazy that you can do that. Like, the amount of like effort that would take to do, like, it just blew my mind. And like, here you are doing this willingly, like enjoying it, pushing yourself. And it's like, for me, it brings me back to the whole thing I've always felt with sport. It's like, thank God you have the opportunity to push yourself the way that we do, right? Like, my legs are tired, but like, thank God my legs are tired, And I think that seeing people, and there were lots of people that were in wheelchairs at the race, but it's just so humbling, and you just have so much respect for those people that are out there, all the para athletes that are just like pushing and pushing and pushing and just giving it everything they have and like doing amazing things, So for me, that was just it really like touches me when I see that type of stuff. And just, it just makes you realize like how truly amazing it is to be able to like exert your body. It really it affects me, and so the whole thing was just, it was awesome. I loved it. It was fun to do it with Melissa, fun to do it with Dane. And then, obviously fun to see you at the finish line, just smiling and eating and, being supportive. So it was great. I loved it and appreciate Oregon Track Club, and Butte to Butte was all it was cracked up to be.
Well, it was pretty cool. That was the first time we came home with dual bib numbers from a weekend.
True.
You had your own competition before, but now I think like you guys, probably you and Dane will like start looking at these.
Me and Dane are always like metric talking.
Diamond League and Lausanne. I wonder if there's a fun run.
Well, I want to, I really want to do half Ironman. I think that that's something that I hope that I can do that in the next few years. I will probably at least do a half marathon next year, if not a full. I don't really like want to do a full marathon, but I probably will just because I have it in like YOLO. But I mean, it's fun. I enjoyed it, but it's like, I like talking to Dane because I think that we both kind of like think similarly about just like exploring metrics for everything. So it's like, especially when it comes like, I mean, I think it's cool too. Like there's not that many people that I know that have retired from the sport that are still like really like trying to optimize their bodies. Like Dane has done that. And I care about doing that for myself, obviously, but it's just cool
there's definitely a unique perspective. Obviously he's a male, you're female, and having kids and that, but like he's actually a twin dad too.
His wife has twins.
I know, but I'm
but
saying like you biologically are different, but you came from this throwing background, which obviously was more poundage on the body and more pounding in the weight room and this. So you guys have both transformed your bodies back to like, Dane's like posting selfies with his like abs out, muscle fitness magazine over there. But like it's cool to see that transformation because I mean, Dane went to Penn State.
Yeah.
He like, I remember when Dane was big Dane, pudgy Dane.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I see him now, I'm like,
when I
gotta
first met
him.
Dane, it must have been like around 2015. When I first met Dane, we did a camp together in Allegheny. Gary was there too. We were camp counselors, and that's where I first met Dane. And Dane was probably like 280, like he was big.
Yeah.
So it's been cool just to like, it's just fun to talk to him. Like, okay, yeah, what are you doing? Well, it's just fun when you think
the first time you met him, like you never thought you'd be doing a 10K with him in Eugene.
No,
you know what I mean? It's just like it's fun the journey.
No, yeah.
The same way you have for him, the same way we talked about earlier in the podcast with Rudy. When you're with these people for so much of your life, like in different aspects, it's kind of fun to do fun things with them.
Well, it's like I said to you, like. This was a cool meet too, seeing all the people that like, Connie Price Smith was honored, Lance was honored, Reese was honored. And like I said to you when we were leaving, like the sad thing about it and the beautiful thing about it, it's like you're closer to Reese, that side of this sport, than you are to like the young guys in this sport, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there's a closer age gap to me and Reese than Paperi.
Sure. And that's what I'm saying. Like the younger guys on the circuit, like, you're closer to this way than you are to that way, And so I think that a lot of people feel that way, like,
well, and it's also weird for me. I'm 36 now. And it's weird for me to think that like, I think Reese got done at 38. It's like all those guys, when I joined the sport, there was Adam who was just getting done. He was 41 or 42. He did that strong at 40, just passed it. So he was like retiring that year. Christian was around the same age as Reese. And like, they were the old guys. And like, essentially like when they were done, and then like Ryan Whiting got done very quickly afterwards. And there was no more Corey. Like I was the old guy since I was like 25 years old. They're like, oh, you're the oldest shot putter. But like, I was like, the guys before me were old. Now I'm the same age as them. So I'm like, they weren't that old.
Yeah. It's relative, I think. I hope.
Yeah. I was told we just got told I broke a Masters world record because now I'm at 36. I'm technically an eligible Masters athlete. So I don't know. I don't know how I should feel about that one, but we'll take it. We'll take
whatever.
it. Yeah, I mean, hey, you're proud of.
So like number 2 of all time for all ages, and then world record of 36 plus.
Old man strength.
I mean, whatever.
I think we'll throw a little farther than we did this weekend this year, but I mean, hopefully we'll keep extending the Masters world record and maybe more.
I mean, it was good. It was a fun weekend. I think that like weekends like this make you realize like it is fun sometimes. Sometimes it's hard. And sometimes it's fun. And sometimes you have these meets where you feel like you'll remember them for the right reasons. Like, I don't think that we're going to, 5 years from now, we're going to be like, remember Prefontaine in 25, how far I threw? Like, I don't think it's going to be like that, but I think it'll be like, that was really fun. Like, that was a nice weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I'll remember this weekend. I think there was a lot of factors. We took a lot more events than normal. Got to see old friends. Even the Paralympic athletes were featured at the meet.
Which was really cool.
Which is like, I used to train at the Olympic Training Center in San Diego.
Yeah,
so I trained with all those para guys I haven't seen we don't have any meets that cross over each
Yeah,
other.
that was cool.
So I mean, just to see the guys that like catch up and see them compete and kind of feel one, like and now it's cool
Now
because
they'll be at USA's.
Actually, USA's they'll be at the meet now, which is cool. But like it was just in all my years of being a pro in the sport, that was like probably the best product. I keep saying the product, but like that was cool. That stadium was loud. People enjoyed it. I think the performances, they keep saying it's statistically the best meet of all time, the way they do that ranking calendar. And as an athlete, which I mean, really the fans are the ones that count, but as an athlete, that was a pretty amazing experience from start to finish. It was run well. It felt premium. And it made you really feel like, professional track, man, I hope it stays like this and keeps doing this in the future.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. Well, I think overall it was successful, and now we have some time to just keep building for USA Championships. So
yeah, I mean, we had a couple opportunities to do some meets between now and USA's. We're going to choose to just kind of keep it going, keep the rhythm going, and really just focus on making sure we can punch the ticket on August 3rd, be top 3, get on the team. Obviously, we'll try to throw a little bit farther than we did. But obviously that's a meet you get by and you qualify for. I'd like to win it, of course, but really set up August because it feels like we're kind of catapulting in the right direction, and want to make sure that we're kind of building the snowballs, building all of August so we can kind of have a crazy September.
So we have a visitor training with us this week.
Yeah. You want to say it? You saying it? So we have a visitor, Tom Walsh came with his wife and his 8-month-old baby, which is really cool because at this point in my career, as we said, I'm getting closer to Reese than I am the new guy out of college. Tom and I have known each other since 2012. So like we've had a lot of life together, and like, it's interesting because, you have these like huge life moments with these people that you might not spend every day with, but Tom's been at every major championship I've been at. He's been at all these diamond leagues. So I like all these, like the career defining and life defining moments, you get to spend it with somebody. So you have this like really unique closeness to somebody. So like Tom's been obviously an adversary on the track in the ring, but like a friend throughout the whole thing. So I'm really happy that he came up here for the week to train. He's in base training because he's lucky enough to have made his team for the next 10 teams because it's down in New Zealand. But it's just fun. It's fun to have him come up here because I think we're gonna have some fun training. We did some weight room stuff today. We're gonna have some fun throwing the rest of this week. But I think it's kind of cool that it's just weird because I think I met Tom and we're sharing beers in the Czech Republic for the first time. How many years later now we're standing there and I got my kids and wife and he has his daughter and his wife, and just like, I think we both have those proud moments. Like he was holding his daughter and we went to Rogue today and I had both kids in my hands, and it's just like, you kind of look at each other like, we're doing it. So
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
cool. It's really cool. I think we're training side for people know we're gonna have some fun training. I think the neighborhood will have no idea that there's 2 Olympic medalists. Just
well, the neighbor definitely will because he's a track fan.
Well, Randy definitely will.
Yeah,
Randy's
Randy
excited.
Knows.
But it's a funny, little thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like, it's weird that these guys with all these medals are somehow training in the backyard over here. But
yeah, I
think they'll enjoy it.
It's cool, but I'm excited for the training. I'm even more excited just to have like some camaraderie, and it's one of those things. Tom invites me to New Zealand all the time to come down for those meets. It's never a good time of the year for us, but now I guess, hey, he came to my house, so I gotta go to his. So
Yep.
maybe in the future we'll do that too.
Definitely. Well, we'll probably end up doing a podcast with Tom while he's here, but yeah, I think it was just a pretty good catch up for us. And like we said, the last one, we're going to try to stay more consistent, but we hope you guys are enjoying these, and we have some camps that will be coming up starting in October. So go ahead and check out the THROvacs website if you're interested in those camps.
THROvacs website. We're going to be restocking some stuff.
We have some
We're going to get some
products gonna
distributor
drop.
now that will help get things out quicker and cheaper. We have some new things that we'll say them next. We got some things coming, so keep listening. Hey, this is the THROvacs Podcast, where our passion for throwing and the Kovacs family collide. I like saying that.